rights be restricted.
As an immigrant from Venezuela, I saw how easy it was for freedom to die. My family and I watched tyranny destroy our home. In Venezuela, the media, celebrities, and politicians repeated the same anti-gun messages until people found it normal and acceptable to give up their freedoms. The reality is, none of it is normal or acceptable. Hungry and helpless, Venezuelans are now unable to protect themselves. Now, as a proud American, I am determined to guard against the same things happening here.
We constantly hear about common sense gun control, like universal background checks, banning assault weapons, ghost guns, high-capacity magazines, and gun show loopholes. Every city that is facing massive crime waves have put these policies into place. Common sense tells me that they don't work. So why do people still believe the idea that those policies save lives? Actual common sense is holding criminals accountable, not letting them out of jail or encouraging them to be more confrontational. Common sense is not stealing the right of the American people to protect themselves. This is the message that America needs to hear.
The DC Project works to reduce firearm accidents by campaigning for education in schools. We counter the false gun control lies by testifying in hearings and meeting our legislators. We equip our friends, our families, and our communities to know the truth. Gun owners are good people.
America is a beacon of freedom. The Second Amendment is vital piece in ensuring that our kids can have a free country to grow up in. We stand with the lawmakers who support the Constitution, and we provide armor from the attacks by the gun control lobby.
Join the DC Project today. Become a member, donate, or subscribe to our newsletter for updates on how we educate, advocate, and preserve our Second Amendment rights for generations to come.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection. And it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Hey folks, happy Sunday and welcome to Eye on the Target Radio. It has been beautiful weather here in Ohio and weather that promotes you
in my headphone.
Weather that promotes you to go to the range.
It was definitely nice weather at the range, that's for sure. Oh, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. I'll just listen to you in real time.
Okay, got it. I have no idea. So when we did the testing, you should have said something because now it's just
good enough. Whatever,
right?
As long as they can hear you, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. I don't know. Something like that. So you're killing me. You're killing me. We do studio setup, and then he's like, what? Right? I'm telling you, don't ever work with your brother, kids. Do not work with your brother because your mom told you weren't allowed to punch him in the nose. You were supposed to be nice to your siblings.
Definitely can't do it now that we got TV.
Right. We can't do that. So no violence. None at all. None. Right. So no, we went to the range this week because it was beautiful out. So on Friday we went and we practiced and we shot and we did a couple drills. And then your friend Mike was recording you shooting a shotgun because he just can't get past it. So tell folks about that.
I have one of the Remington V3 Tech 13 shotguns. It's a little 13-inch barreled, looks like a canoe paddle. We call it my machete, but
yeah, it kind of looks like a machete.
It's not very big anyhow, and it's 6 shots, some automatic, and so the fact that I can actually shoot it fast and hit things, it amazes Mike, and so he likes to film it. So he got me shooting 6 shots of buckshot. I think the total time was less than 8 seconds from the time I picked the gun up till I was out of bullets.
Right, yeah, out of bullets and zooming in on the target. So I don't remember what the number was, but it was a very tight time frame. There's no doubt about that. I know
in the past we had timed it, and I was able to shoot 6 slugs hitting paper plate sized targets in 1.4 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's and the funny part is that we're then on the target, looking at the target, and not only is all the shot in the target, but all the wads bumped holes through the target. So they were all there. It was all there. So that was kind of cool. Then the next day we did Women's Day on the range. So what were your thoughts on that?
It was funny, to watch them all. And they have so much trouble loading like the magazines and stuff like this. I showed them a Maglula. That was like the
epiphany.
The coolest thing.
So
sure, they all stopped at the gun shop and bought a Maglula on the way home.
Well, and I think that sometimes what happens is people don't step clear back to the basics to make it easy for somebody.
Well,
so they don't show them.
There's so many attachments and accoutrement that you can get for this stuff that we don't know at all. And we don't, and really when you stop at the gun shop, you only see what little bit caught his attention. You don't really see what's really available. Every company, so there's some companies that's the only thing they do is these little things that go in your range bag to help you either load or tell if your target was good, or if you hang your target up or whatever. They got so many different little clips and
accessories. To me, the epiphanies were, the first one was that of all the gals that were welcome to bring their guns, they
20 of them show up with a Smith & Wesson EZ.
There were, yes, more than
one 380, and the rest of them were all 9.
It was funny.
Then when they laid them all out, they're all black, so nobody knows who's this.
Well, no, they did, because as they pulled them out, we checked them, we made sure that they were safe, and then we put them out on the table. And by the time I got to the second one, I was like, take a picture of your serial number.
Yeah.
Take a picture of your serial number so that everybody got back their stuff, right? The one girl's like, I can tell mine, it's dirty. Right? One's was golden. One was, hers was multicolored.
And had custom paintwork done on
right.
it and stuff. It's kind of surprising how pretty some of that stuff is. But I can't imagine in the future, like the collectors when they look at all these. There's so many different, like say a Glock that has been modified by 100 different people. How do they value? Does it add to the value? Does it subtract from the value?
I think in the collector's thing, it's going to subtract from the value just because.
Right, so that you're going to see these where a bone stock one's going to be worth way more money due to the fact that somebody.
This is how it's shipped, and here's the packaging and everything, and everybody messed with it. So look at this. This is the uniqueness of it. But I'm not buying it for the collector's value later of a plastic gun. I'm buying it for the use and recreation of it right now.
People bought a gun thinking about the collective value in the future. They bought it because of the need at the time, and then later on, whether they used it or didn't, then the collective value came into it.
Well, and you know, in my head, I go, well, I'm not sure where the value is on a plastic gun. But then, have you seen the value of the trains in the little train sets, the different gauge, you know, H and O gauge Christmas train kind of things?
Everybody collects something different,
and they're all plastic, so they have value.
And whether it's new or old, or I mean, some of the early Matchbox cars that were built for kids to play with in the sandbox and throw in the trash are quite valuable.
Right. Exactly. So it's like, you know, you don't think about it, but then it just circles right back around and goes, you know, maybe
those little toys that they give you in the McDonald's meal. Some of the early ones those two also have a pretty good collective value, and they weren't supposed to make it clear out of the car.
Well, and some, so some did and some didn't. So our producer says, look at the value of Gen 1 and Gen 2 Glocks, because as they moved on, you know, I'm thinking when you start to talk about like Cracker Jack toys and McDonald's toys, that kind of stuff, the stuff that is completely disposable has an even higher value. So like the silly little tattoos and stuff that you're going to lick it and stick it to your forehead before you ever get out of the car.
Right. Well, I'm just going to look at it and throw it in the trash. If it was metal, you got a little metal disc, she'd hang on to that for a couple of days. But a decal, it was gone.
It was gone before it got stuck to the wall. I'm just saying. Did you see, speaking of just going completely off topic, did you see the YouTube video of the little kid with the sticker book and her two golden retrievers? Those dogs are saints because she stickered those dogs from one end to the other. The one dog is actually got a sticker on an eyelash, and so it blinks and the sticker flips up and down with it. And I'm like, those are the best kids' dogs. It's just so I could see exactly why my mother took away the stickers. She took away the stamps. She took away the things that would be, not that I'm going to say I'd stick it to the wall, but yeah, I would have stuck it to the wall. So,
you know, it's funny because when we were kids, we had guns. We weren't allowed to have a pocket knife. We weren't allowed to have a BB gun.
You were not allowed to have a BB gun because
those things,
right?
And so you would end up sticking it on the wall or shooting each other with a BB gun or something like this. But the real gun, you respected that.
And she was very.
We had some bizarre rules at home.
But she was very wise because.
You know, when I was a kid, we were not allowed to buy. We went to the gun show every weekend, so you were not allowed to buy a target that was a human silhouette. We were only allowed to have targets that looked like targets.
Targets, right? Right, and there was a reason in her mind. There was a reason, and so now we practice on human-ish shapes so that you know where you're hitting and what your hit is and speed versus accuracy and all of those kind of things. But I was talking to Robin Sandoval, and I don't know if I'm telling a secret or not, but A Girl and a Gun has their own versions of a variety of targets. And so their targets they have the humanoid shape, but they don't have the humanoid parts. But they give you the gist of what you're looking at, and it's kind of cool how. I just have the utmost respect for Robin Sandoval and how her mind works.
I mean, is that just to keep you from being grossed out by seeing what the actual parts look like, or
maybe
is it something else?
I think that
further inside of your head that nobody knows how it works.
No, I think to me, when I looked at what she had put together, it sort of tells you what's happening in those spaces. You know, so this is where the computer is. This is where the engine is. You know, those types of things. And I thought it was very, very savvy without being grisly, if you will.
Well, I mean, it may actually help some people understand chain of
What's
command,
happening.
which parts are better or more, I guess, necessary to make the system work.
Oh, yeah. So there is that piece of it. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to do the history of something, because he hasn't told me what the history of the something that we're going to be talking about is.
We didn't go over that yet.
We will discuss it at break, so then we know what, and it'll be a surprise to me as much as it is a surprise to you. But really, you know, one of our goals is to educate, and the history of firearms and collectors and designers is all part of it. We'll be right back.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so we are back, and we are going to. Am I just tossing you a topic, and then we're going to talk about the history,
or
or
talk about the new thing the president's got about how the 9mm is the demon gun, and he's going to work hard to get rid of it.
Well, so and he's saying that it is a what was the word that he used? Is like a high
your lungs out.
Well, he said that, but but he was saying it was a high caliber, a high something
velocity.
Yeah, so the words they're gone. But
anyways, the rest of the world agrees with him, and so they took the 9mm away from most of Europe and South America and that, and so most of those countries have switched over to the 38 Super, which is more powerful than the 9mm.
But they switched because the 9mm has bad press?
Yeah, the governments just said no military calibers, and so they take away anything that the military is using, no longer available to the general public.
Okay.
So they would take so this is one of the reasons why the 38 Super is very popular in other parts of the world, but not so much here. The target shooters of the 1980s actually kind of brought it to America again. It was originally designed, Browning brought it out in the 1900 pistol as a 38 ACP, and then they give it the plus P treatment in 1929 when the FBI was looking for a gun that would penetrate car bodies.
Okay.
And so this was their first thing, because the .357 Magnum hadn't been developed until 1935. So this 38 Super was going to be the wave of the future.
So the 38 Super, is the brass designed for a revolver, or is it brass designed for a semi-auto?
It's designed for a semi-auto, but it's what they call a semi-rimmed cartridge.
Okay.
I know you're going to like that, right?
Okay, because right now there's rimmed and rimless, and so
Browning liked the semi-rimmed thing. So the 32 ACP and the 38 Super, or the 38 ACP, both use this little. It's got a rim, but it's a real small rim to it. So you can actually shoot 38 Supers in a .357 Magnum revolver without any issues. Okay. But the rim is just really tiny. Actually, in the 80s, the rim was so small it was giving the competition shooters some problems. So they actually got rid of it altogether and made it called a 38 Super Comp. So it's just the same exact brass, but they just did away with the rim to make it so that it didn't catch on each other to cause jams or something.
Okay.
But anyhow, the 38 Super is identical cartridge to the 38 ACP that was built from 1900 till probably sometime in the 40s, 50s, and then they just supercharged it to this plus P rating, and then this 38 Super will fit in the old gun. It's not recommended. Usually they're hand grenade.
That makes it not recommended when.
But if you were a hand loader, it makes it easy because you can take that brass and load it down to the original specs and run it again. But at least the cases are available instead of not being available at all. But there's a lot of guns that are available in 38 Super. You just don't see them because gun shops don't really order it. That if you look at the manufacturers out there, there's a lot of, especially 1911 platform guns that they make in the Super. The Tommy gun they were making some of those. I don't know how many they actually build or whatever, but if you could get 100 bullets in a 45 magazine, I wonder how many 38 Supers you can get in.
I was looking at the 30 Super Carry for the magazine, so that drum magazine would be like a 200 round drum magazine for that caliber.
Gun and 4 boxes of bullets you carry.
Right, and it would just be a little heavy, and then I'd have to have someone assist me, the Bwana.
Just think, it gives you an incentive to shoot it. The more you shoot it, the lighter it gets.
Well, and to go, incentive to go to the gym. So those two things multiply one another.
But there's a lot of things like this. I mean, the 9mm, really, by normal standards, it's a little more powerful than a 38 Special. It's nowhere near as powerful as a .357 Magnum. It was just the thing that they needed to sell the Luger at the time. So when the German government was looking at the original Lugers, the 30 Luger cartridge wasn't enough power. They wanted something bigger, so they come out with that 9mm, so the 1908 government contracts would come through for the Luger pistol. We have long since lost interest in the Luger, but we love their bullets. So every gun manufactured pretty much shoots that same bullet today.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So what would happen? I mean, if we end up with where our government is trying to take us, and they're trying to say restriction.
The thing is someone will come out with a way to change that to something. I mean, it already has 200 different names. So between 9mm Luger and 9mm Parabellum and 9x18 or 9x19 and all this stuff, it'll come up with a new name, and then
it'll be just slightly different, so it's not a military grade.
Right, so it'll still shoot through your same old ready old gun. It'll just have a new improved name. It'll cost you $2 extra a box of bullets to get this stuff.
Right. Just saying. I don't believe you're wrong.
The thing is, when they say about it says, well, if it's a popular, whatever they want, because they have two phrases. What is that? The popular with the people and with the
in common use.
Yeah, in common use and sporting use.
Yeah, sporting purpose. In common use and sporting purpose are the two terms.
If every brand new gun on the planet is made for that caliber, I would say that's in common use is there.
Right. So it's, there's so much stuff. Some people were talking about what's going to happen and where is the government going and how many more new gun laws are we going to have, and we're going to talk about that more as we go. But this whole in common use, all of these things are really going to impact what's coming out of the Supreme Court in this Bruin versus New York State Rifle and Pistol Association.
Too, some of this, people say, well, these pistols are only good for short distance. If you go to YouTube and look, there's a Jerry Micklick thing where he shoots a balloon at 1,000 yards with his 9mm pistol.
With his pistol? At 1,000 yards. Wow. Yeah, so our producer is saying he's looking forward to the 9.01 Campbell cartridge because that will make it all 9.01 millimeter. Got it. Yes. Jerry Micklick is a machine. He is amazing in his both skills and speed and accuracy.
If we measure the 9mm like the English do and go with the hole that they drill to before they start to rifling it, then it'll be like an 8.3 by 19mm or something, and that doesn't sound nearly as menacing.
It doesn't. It would be. We'll just rename it. We'll be all good. I mean, it worked. It worked well for the Black Talon that just got renamed because it wasn't as menacing. We'll be back right after these messages.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Writing Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
Okay, so we are back. There is so much news that is out there that I wanted to share this one because I think it's got a unique tie-in. The other day when we were driving back from Texas, I got a call from somebody who said that they were setting up. They're a friend of mine who is cameraman. That's what I was like, filmmaker. No, it's a cameraman for a news crew. And they were getting ready to go interview the teachers union about the Ohio concealed carry, or the Ohio arming the teachers bill that had passed through the House and the Senate and was getting ready to go to the governor's desk. And the governor has said that he would sign it in Ohio. And so they were going to interview the union, and well, when he told me that they were doing a story on it, I said, oh, great. So you're going to interview Jim Irvine and the Faster folks and a couple of the school teachers and some of that, because they've been doing this for years. And he's like, no, we're going to interview the union. And they're not for it. And it was like, did you know that Ohio had this for 10 years before they put it on pause because of this lawsuit? Then the legislature had to fix it. And then they took it back off pause. So that's really what that is. He's like, no. The union didn't say that. They just said that they're against it. So I gave him enough information that the second day they did a story with the unions one day, and then they did a rebuttal story with teachers and school administrators and people who'd been involved in training teachers for the past 10 years on the next day. Then right after that, what comes out is the American Federation of Teachers. So this is the union. So they are the smaller of the two major teachers unions in the United States. So there's two major teachers unions, and this is one of them, the smaller of the two, but one of the major teachers unions. And they have a series of events that they are putting out to demand action on gun violence prevention, right? And their gun violence prevention has partnered them with David Hogg, and it is gun prevention and gun restriction is their whole format.
I like the article says David Camera Hawk.
Right. So
I didn't know he had a middle name, but
I didn't. But that camera hog makes so much sense. But it's like it's really, once again, it's interesting. So
we as a country have let this happen to ourselves, and we are. I mean, when Ronald Reagan cut the budget and took away the insane asylums, he let all those people loose on the road, and then since then nobody's bothered to look for them or where they're at or what they're doing.
And their society's problem now instead of an individual.
And so even if you have somebody who is a little bit off kilter, you tend to ignore it and to as much as possible. And so as a society, we just let it go, or we always just we have an excuse why we let it go, or later on they'll say, well, he was a good boy, or I didn't think he would hurt anybody, or
well, no, a lot of people say he was an odd duck and he was weirder than anything, and I wouldn't let my kids play with him, and I wouldn't be anywhere around him. And when I saw him, I crossed the street, yet he was still out there.
There's nothing you could do with him. I mean, even if you called the police, they come out, looked at him, talked to him for a minute, and
said, "We're not the thought police," and
they left him go. So now we've decided, instead of doing something with these people, we are going to harden our schools, and then so that's going to leave the next layer open. When
they're done with attacking the schools, since they can't get to them, where are they going to go next?
So are they coming to the hospitals? Are they going to the grocery stores? Are they going to
well, yes and yes, we've seen them both. Churches, we've seen that.
There's also stuff, I mean, I'm a conspiracy guy. I got besides the tinfoil hat, I got a whole suit, gloves, boots, everything.
He's got a tinfoil house that he lives in.
So, I mean, I'm seeing that the reason why they shot up that grocery store was the guy is halfway through his patent stuff for his new, I don't know what you would call it. It's a separator that converts his water into motor fuel. So he had a car that actually ran on tap water. And so he was in phase 2 of 4 things to get his patents.
That's one of the conspiracy things.
So today they call him unalive. I don't know if that's the same as dead but he's
not alive, unalive, UN.
But he was a janitor at that grocery store. So was he the actual target of the grocery store, and the rest of the grocery store was just
collateral damage?
Just something that you know how people are. They don't really care about you. They may need you to complete their story so that the thing is interesting and people want to read it, but they don't.
The horrific interesting part is that when somebody is intent to cause mayhem, cause mass murder, cause death, cause harm, cause whatever, they don't have any respect for their own life, so they have no respect for yours. You are collateral damage to the message that they're trying to promote.
Some of the stuff is these people, the shooters, when you look at it, they have no real link to why they're doing this. So is it that there's something else going on that we don't understand? I mean, we watch movies and the science fiction thing of that, but is it something that's much deeper, and we are ignoring that also?
I don't know, but
we tend to just stop thinking at one point and say, well, it's got to be an easier answer.
It's got to be a simpler answer, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. The interesting part is that, like, the House bills that they just run through the House are trying very hard to add all kinds of layers of new gun laws. The Senate bills are looking. There's still a lot of new gun laws in this proposal, but they're adding mental health in there, and the problem is mental health and mental health awareness and mental health correction is hard, because how do you know when you're healed? How do you know when you're better? How do you know when you were defective enough that you needed this?
Well, who's the guy that's got enough power to turn it on and say that
and to turn it back off?
You need some help, and that somebody else will pay attention to them. Where, I mean, because my wife tells me I need help all the time, but it's just her way of being entertaining.
I'm not sure. I'm just going to go, No. But I mean, I get it. There's
That's like thing, when they put you on a no-fly list. Who can put you on and who can
get you
off? And people worry about. Let's say you got a stolen gun, and you say, "Well, if you give it to the sheriff, and they put it on the internet, and then everybody could go on and see."
It's stolen.
Say you go into a gun shop and you want to sell a gun, they can just go in and put the serial number in and see if it was stolen or not. But
how do you get it off?
It on? Who takes it back off? If it was stolen and you recovered it, does it come off that list? Or now you have a gun that's on that list, and then the list is so polluted that it really has no value.
Unsellable. And then if you say, "Oh, I got it back," so now it comes off the list. But then in actuality, you're the nefarious person who I'm just trying to clean its little pedigree. And so I got it. It's all better, and it's not really better.
Right.
You know,
there's so much stuff to this, and how do you make it happen? And I think if it's a list, you can't believe it right away. I mean, it's either it's old, it's obsolete, or somebody who was paid for some reason put that name on there, even though they had.
It doesn't. Yeah. If it's not pristine, it doesn't do you any good.
It's
and as soon as people,
we are as a society anymore.
But we don't. I mean, we saw that there was a 2-year-old that got put on the no-fly list because he was a threat to society. Right. I think they were wrong. So but this kid, it took their parents years to get him off the no-fly list. And it's like, what?
That's why you don't name him after a famous terrorist or public figure. I mean, if your name's Winston Churchill, you're going to be.
Well, I'm pretty sure that any new little Donald Trump is pretty much on the that's not a good name either, right? Yeah. So if you name your child Adolf or Donald, it's probably the exact same response. Just saying, and maybe now Brandon. So there are just
Karen.
certain.
You don't want to be Karen.
You don't want to be Karen. You don't want to be Brandon. You know, there's some names now, and you're like, darn it, my little Karen is 3 years old. What am I going to do? We're going to call her.
Legally change her name.
We're calling her Buffy from this point on. You're gonna be Buffy for the rest of your life because you never tell anybody. Do not ever tell anybody what your name is. Never. Just don't. Right? Can't you see that? I really.
I know people like that. Back in the day, their mom named them one thing, and then later on, she didn't like it, so she changed their name. And then when they got to be 70, that started to be a problem for their Social
Security because I didn't exist.
Until then, they didn't realize it was
a problem. No, I'm with you because I have used my middle name my entire life. We got the new verified driver's licenses, and they renamed me. And so
nobody knows who you are.
I don't know who I am. I can't fly. I can't buy plane tickets because I have to go, ooh, stop, wait, go back. Which name do I use? People call me by the name that is now on my driver's license, and I don't respond because I've never responded to that name.
Think of it as your radio name, like Wolfman Jack. You only Jack when you're out in public.
That would be cool if it were a cool radio name. I mean, think about it this way. My mother, if I were going to be a boy, my mother was going to name me Angus Bruce. So it's not like my girl name was a whole lot better than Angus Bruce. We'll just say. Amanda is the best part of that entire
Angus
deal.
Bruce, though, makes me think of you wearing a skirt throwing telephone poles and stuff.
Exactly. It would have to be in the Campbell plaid. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And I am so glad that you as a brother were older and that we didn't have a little brother because that would have been horrific. So, hey, we'll be back right after these messages.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefakul and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com. A brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Writing Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Well, before you so distracted me, I wanted to talk a little bit about a tweet that Congressman Thomas Massie put out. It was actually a Twitter survey, and his Twitter survey was, which would be more effective for preventing and stopping school shootings? Allowing staff to be armed, banning 15-plus round magazines, or ban guns from 18 to 20-year-olds, their ownership. So he put that out as a Twitter, and Twitter is, we'll just say, it's more liberal than not. There are conservatives there, but it's more liberal than not. And so where would you think that the answer would be, considering that
30,529 votes?
Yeah, so 30,000 people voted on this. And given where our legislators are going, where they're like, I'm going to restrict this, I'm going to restrict that, I'm going to restrict the others, those restrictions and those bans of ban 18 to 20-year-olds from owning guns, banning 15-round,
magazines,
any of that kind of stuff. The standard capacity magazines are turning into low capacity magazines, right? 86% of the people who responded to his survey on Twitter, no less, on Twitter, 86% said allow the staff to be armed. Not that that's a Pew Research, not that that is one of the other research organizations, but I would think that as a Twitter survey.
Yeah, Twitter survey, you're getting probably a more realistic
populace
section of the population that's doing things. And also, too, when you look at some of this stuff, I don't know what they're going to end up with when they're done with this, but the FASTER program has a lot of different things in it for the like medical and trauma care, stuff like this. I know that usually, especially like when they did the concealed carry, they watered it down so badly that a lot of the good quality training is taken out of it because they don't want to inconvenience anybody by having to learn anything for an hour or two.
Well, it was really, and so and your experience is an Ohio-based experience, so as is the FASTER program. But the Ohio-based experience was they were writing the concealed carry bill to say you wanted to take the personal protection course. When they finally got around to passing it, they had modified it to such an extent that any major training course met the criteria, and in some cases, like the OPATA, or the Ohio Police Officers Training, they could write their own course. There was some protocol that had to be in it, but it was extremely basic, that protocol.
So figuring that these FASTER people have already been doing this for a decade, you would think that it would be a lot easier just to follow their program.
One would think.
But it's cheaper to do it the other way because you don't have to have props and you don't have to show anybody anything.
So
they're saying it's only like a couple hours now. So what do you teach somebody?
No, it's still more than the people who are saying it's only a couple hours are the people who were having the meltdown that they wanted it to be 700 hours.
Well, I know that because I have seen somebody said 2 hours, and I'm like, you could barely teach somebody to write their name on the correct line in 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't. I've heard some ranting, and I've heard some commiserating and some grousing, and that was not in the rant, nor the grouse, nor the commiseration.
Well, here's the other thing. We are looking, if you read some of those bills that the House has passed recently and the Senate is looking at, although they went on vacation and they left a little committee to deal with some, there's spots in there where if you take your gun apart to clean it, you have to have a 07 manufacturer's license. Knowing that they're not going to issue manufacturer's license willy-nilly to everybody.
So it wasn't intended to be if you took it apart to clean it, but it was written in such a way to say if you took your firearm apart into pieces, then that because they were assuming, and I'm not justifying them and I'm not explaining them, but the thought process was that they were thinking you're taking it apart to replace a trigger or to put another whiz-bang something in there. And we know that you take it clear apart to clean it.
But even as that, you've never needed to be a contractor to put a window in your house or change a toilet or something.
Don't give my ideas.
You don't. There's so much stuff here that is like, stay out of my face.
Right, because they're trying to end run some of the manufacturing, some of the ghost gun stuff.
Get us all back to single shot guns, so then they think that they have a chance because there's how many million of us in the country?
They don't understand that. They just got to go back and watch one of those westerns where there's somebody shooting and somebody loading, right?
Or if they just go back to the original English and look at what a 4 does,
right? And
then you replace their Snyders with a 22 single shot rifle.
Okay, so let's without the veiled threat, let's talk about what a 4 is, because I think letting people understand what that piece is, because the British had a way.
In the old days, before you hid and shot at people, they stood face to face with each other. And so the British 4 was a big square, had like a 3 or 4 layer manpower on each wall. The commander stood in the middle, and this way it could move left, right, forward, or backward, whichever way it wanted to, attacking the whole way. There was no, and that when you were the front guy, you stood and fired, and then you dropped down into a loading position. The guy behind you stood up, stepped forward of your position, and fired that shot. And then he dropped down, and the next guy stepped forward. And so the thing was constantly on the move, heading for you. So
in a direction.
Every time everybody made 1 yard motion movement forward.
So the whole box
and
moved.
By the time the fourth guy had fired, the first guy is already loaded and ready to go again. So it was a continuous line of.
Well, and the interesting piece is that it takes about. I mean, I timed you, and it takes about a minute for you to load.
A 6-shot revolver that I loaded in 1 minute.
Okay, so it takes about a minute for you to load that. So I mean, so when you start to look at the fact that you're really breaking this down, that if you assume that, okay, because you're already in a motion, let's assume that you could load one in like 20 seconds. And so you could rotate through.
With the original brown bess, you probably could load one in, I would say, 20, 30 seconds without too much trouble, because you've heard doing things by the numbers. That was how they taught you to load the gun. And
right, so you should be able to, but in that amount of time, do your loading and then get back in line to be able to do it. So even if we said that it was 40 seconds in total from shot to shot, that means that every 10 seconds somebody was firing out of a single shot muzzle loading gun. So there are defensive positions that you could do, and we've all watched the Westerns where she's standing behind her man loading the gun and handing it to him, and he's shooting.
They just have 2 or 3 guns, and so she loads it, and as he gets the window, he picks it up, shoots it, sets it in the other spot.
She just keeps going. So yeah, I mean, and frankly, I don't think that they think that is possible, probable, whatever, and I think they're going to be sadly mistaken. That if there comes a time when you're forced to pick up arms, it doesn't matter what they've restricted us to. There will be stuff that comes out of the woodwork. It comes out of, people will be tearing down walls that they have built to hide things. There are things everywhere in the United States that they will be surprised. Because, Grandma had a Gatling gun and nobody really knew it. But here we go. So, folks, they think that they can restrict you and I. My gun is to defend myself and defend my family.
There's 770,000 machine guns that are unlicensed in the U.S. They don't know where they're at.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you. A firearm in self-defense.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, so Rob, do you know the definition of a straw purchase?
Yeah, when you buy something for somebody that can't buy something.
So, okay, so you buy it. If you go into a gun shop and you buy it, and you either buy it with their money, or you buy it knowing that you're going to gift it or give it or make it available to someone who is legally not allowed to own it.
Right, that's the thing. You got to know if they're allowed to have it, but you can legally gift a gun to someone without a problem.
So you can buy a gun and give it to somebody. That's a gift.
When the neighbor comes over and the other neighbor's house on fire and he says you got a gun, you can let him have a gun, but you got to know who he is instead of just.
And okay, so but a straw purchase, that is the definition of it, is to enable or make it available to someone who cannot have it on their own.
Right, and some of these people are making that as a sideline business. They they go and buy guns all over the place to stock up their friends, gang or whatever.
Their friends, their gangs, so that kind of an income generator in the crime world. So they become a firearms crime boss.
We had an article a couple months ago where the guy was renting the guns. He just went and bought a bunch of them, and the criminal could just go and rent a gun.
Rent it and then bring it back to him.
Yeah, that was some idea there.
Then there was a couple of the soldiers out of one of the military bases that was buying guns and then transferring them up to Chicago and straw purchasing them, and they were found in a series of crimes. So, and there was 60 of them. So those are the definitions of straw purchase. Well, the new Senate laws have rewritten that definition, and now they call it the boyfriend loophole. So the boyfriend loophole, which you guys are all going to hear more and more about the boyfriend loophole, is a straw purchase. Okay, so they just redefined it.
The guy who was buying the gun kind of looked like one of the bikers off an old Clint Eastwood movie.
Okay.
And the guy who was getting the gun kind of looked like one of the bikers off the old Clint Eastwood movie. So which one of them was the boyfriend, I wonder?
I don't know. I do not know. But so they're going to make the boyfriend loophole a double secret probation illegal, more so than the current straw purchase that is already a felony illegal, right? So we're adding that to it. And
the problem that they have is when they catch someone doing this, they don't do anything to them. So it's the first thing they do is that, we got one, they wave it around, and then they forget about it.
They negotiate the charges away. And I'm going to say, here's one. So this story pulls right back to that. So the Senate is talking about the boyfriend loophole, which is really tied to straw purchases. Then in Ohio, and this came out and was published June 1st, and it was a former tri-state police chief will not spend a single day of prison time for his role in what the federal prosecutors say was a machine gun sales scheme. according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Indiana. So this is a guy, Dorian LaCourse, 66, of Milford, and this is in Ohio, and he was the police chief, and so he was involved in making available more than 100 illegally obtained machine guns, 2,500 rounds of ammunition, and $6,000 in criminal proceeds, right? So here's a dude who not only straw purchased, but he straw purchased machine guns, class 3, restricted, extremely restricted.
I mean, unless he was just selling them without paperwork, but I was trying to find that. I couldn't.
So he pled guilty to 3 of the 17 charges.
Yeah, normally that stuff, like if you buy it on your police department stuff, it stays with the department. Mm-hmm. It's not a private.
So it's not yours. So he stole it, and then he sold it.
It doesn't come with paperwork like a legally acquired machine gun does. Mm-hmm. It's got the letterhead from the police department is all you come up with.
Yeah.
So it's like how was he doing it, or how was he trying to sell it, or whatever?
So he faced 15 years in prison. The federal prosecutors recommended 70 months, nearly 6 years. And he is, let me go back, will not spend a day in prison. Not one.
He's from the Cincinnati area. I just looked up that little town.
Okay.
It's just a little bit west of the Cincinnati.
But
on the Ohio River.
But this is exactly why when they take the boyfriend loophole and they add it to the straw purchase that is already illegal, and they add more laws, they're not enforcing the laws they currently have.
And this guy, being that he's law enforcement, should already know the laws. So
he should be spanked double hard.
Right, there should be extra penalties for him.
Yeah, so, I mean, there should be a charge about the public trust, defraying something to the defrauding public trust.
You see that stuff, somebody that's in charge of that position steals the stuff or sells it on the black market or does something. Those people are extra criminals.
I think so. I really
something should be done about it, but yet nothing gets done about it.
I really do. I mean, but when you see this story and then you see that story and you're looking at it and it's like, what part?
A couple years ago, we were talking about there was a.
Was I ranting then?
It was an IX Center type thing. It was they were moving the guns, like the union workers were moving the guns in for one of the gun shows, whether it was SHOT Show or NRA or whatever. And at the time, they stole some of the guns.
They were moving them out. The show was over. They were moving them out, and they stole a stack of them without firing pins, but they stole them.
Right,
yeah.
and so, but they really didn't get much in the way of penalties for those guys either. So it's funny. It's like, why would you not go after these?
And those people they found because they were brand new style guns that they needed to order a firing pin to be able to make them
If you
work.
stole a gun because you wanted one, but if you stole a skid of guns, now they can pretty much guess you're not keeping a skid of guns for yourself.
Once again, I'm just going to go back to 100 illegally obtained machine guns. Chances are, maybe if you have one or you have two, and maybe you have a backup.
Well, the thing too is, if you look at the government prints every year a list of all of the guns that are missing from their inventories
from that year. So it's a singular year,
and it's pretty amazing how many guns are missing.
Well, in some cases, it makes sense. A car started on fire.
If your car caught on fire, you may lose one or two guns in it or something. But when they show you that they lost 114 MP5s or something, that's more than a car fire incident or something.
Mm-hmm.
Where does So where do they go to? How do they? And what do they do to the people who lost the gun? I mean, it's one thing if the gun's still there, but it's destroyed and unusable. Mm-hmm. Versus.
So let me return this hunk of something with the serial number still in it, right?
Right.
Something bad happened to this.
Right. If something bad happened to it, is one thing, but if it's gone completely missing, and all of a sudden,
honey, where did I put my gun?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it sort of is that. But do you ever?
Last time I remember seeing that, we were at so-and-so.
So, and I don't know what I did with that. I mean, it would be like if they lost their police car, it would be the same thing.
Right, but that's the thing is where do they go? And sometimes it's if you lose 115 of them in a year, you probably lost more than one at a time.
I think you got a habit going on there. Just saying, just saying.
That could be the country clear across, but it's still, I mean, that's 2.5 machine guns a state that is gone.
Right. I don't get that, but I think
so. We don't get all of the information. So it's like how many of crusty piles of stuff were returned back in out of that.
But those wouldn't be counted as lost, I wouldn't imagine. I would think that it would be if you got a crusty pile of something that you can't read the serial number, you can't verify that indeed was it.
But if it's not available for service, then they call it lost. So depending on how their wording is in their thing. It's kind of like the gun violence things that classify suicides and police shootings and everything as gun violence.
Right.
I mean, it depends on what word they're using and how they're
doing it. I mean, yeah, because when they were reading out in Boston about a year after the Boston Marathon bombing, and one of the victims of gun violence that they read their name out was the Tsarnaev brother that got shot before he got run over by the car before he got dead, right? And so they called him a victim of gun violence, and I think he was a victim of karma. But that would just be my opinion on that. Hey, we're going to head for a commercial break, and we will be back right after this.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, KRMAradio.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefakul and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so we are back, and there's so many things going on that, everybody's...
There's an article that wants to know if it's the gun or the person that causes violence.
Well...
it makes a good movie. You ever see like a science fiction movie where somebody goes into an antique shop and he buys like a necklace or something, and then that necklace makes them evil, or...
Right.
So... I bought a lot of old guns, but they really never made me want to do anything out of the ordinary.
Right, and they've never done it without you. They've never just kind of headed off on...
Some of them I wish they would try it because the bullets are really hard for me to make.
If they were on their own, if they could just whiz them
I got
right...
like 4 days in making one bullet. I wish it would try something on its own.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. It really is this, right now it's this public persuasion. It's the hot topic. They're going to run with it, and they're running with it every different direction. And so you almost are like at a spot where it's like, I'm tired of hearing about it.
The thing is, we hear about the bad guys with the gun. Right. We don't hear about the good guy with the gun. They're out there, not as much as you would think, but they're too. A lot of times, the bad guy with the gun and the good guy with the gun don't run in the same neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. Your mom taught you better than to go to those neighborhoods.
Right, there you go. So, okay. So, have you heard that Gadsden, Alabama had someone headed to a school, they thought for nefarious purposes. The school resource officer and this guy had an altercation. The school resource officer stopped this guy, and this guy did not survive the encounter, right? Did not get through the resource officer, did not get to the children that were in the school, nothing.
Right, it makes you wonder what was going on, but there again, why did he bother going to school with the gun in the first place? So, there you go.
So, there honestly isn't anything where you're skulking around with a gun on your person, in your hand, obvious that you've got a gun on a school lot.
Well, like I say, this is when they fortify the schools, it's going to start being.
It'll move something else. It'll move someplace else. But
it's always they go for the easiest spot. They're not going to try to attack a fortified location.
They don't attack the police stations, right? They attack places that are no gun zones, no fly zones, that type of a thing. And what happens then is the media aspect of it is they pick it up and they run with it, and so they will run with every little piece, whether it's right or it's wrong, whether they've got the information or they don't, where they heard it, how they heard it, what all that kind of stuff is. Everything
is a mass shooting, whether it is or not. They've got qualifications to say that it's fits into this mass shooting versus not.
Right. So mass shooting is that at one point it was that you had to shoot 4 or more people. Now they've moved it to 3 or more people is the definition of a mass shooting. And even if that's a domestic mass shooting or a gang-related mass shooting, it's multiple people shot. So the media, though, on the other hand, talks about other countries, and their definitions are much higher in the numbers, so that the shootings look less, because that makes the United States look worse. So it's all about optics. So they redefine things to be able to say what that is. And so
well, your article lists the 1996 law where Australia
get rid of all their guns.
They bought everybody's gun back. Doesn't say what they paid for them.
Right.
They haven't. They also don't tell you that since then that the bikie gangs have taken over and that they've loosened up some of the gun laws and let people have guns again. And
because they had to come back, but to use the United States definition, they say that the Gun Violence Archives say that we've had 254 mass shootings. If you use the definition that they're using for all the other countries, not in the United States, that would back the United States down to 9. So it's just, what do they tell you in calculus class? Figures lie and liars figure. You know, that you can take data and you can make it whatever you want it to be, however you slice it and you dice it. And yeah.
We were talking, one of our outings, we talked to a French TV guy who was,
right.
And it was funny because he was saying that they don't have shootings per se over there like they have here.
Right.
Everyone in the country wears chainmail under their clothes because they have public knifings. The people just walk up in the crowd and knife people
and just stab them randomly stab them.
Right, and they say that it's been more and more since they've allowed all of the Middle Easterners to just come into Europe.
So yeah, when they opened up all the borders and allowed everybody in without vetting, that became a bigger issue. So there's that. There was just a video about a girl in New York that was unlocking her apartment, and somebody just walked up, stabbed her, and walked away. Right? I mean, just for no reason. So when something like that happens, if somebody intends to do you harm and you have no warning, there's not a lot that you can do about it.
Even if you are the most highly trained person on the planet, without warning or anything, there's a good chance that
they will be successful. On the other hand, if you are the second person in the room, the second person in a group, and you are prepared, you can stop it from being a mass casualty.
Well, and the other thing is if you're out with someone, one of you should be paying attention while the other one is doing whatever. So if they're unlocking the car, you're looking around at who's around them and what's going on. If you're pumping gas, one guy should be paying attention to what's happening at the whole gas station and not just
stand there playing on their phone.
Or sitting in the car playing with the radio or
one of those.
Something.
All those. Playing on the phone.
But there's a lot of things. We, as Americans, we've lived a soft, cushy life for 150 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tend to not pay attention around us. We just la-di-da through our day. And there's a lot of people who have come into our country recently who are not, they don't play by the same rules. So pay attention to what's going on around you because things could be different at the end of the day.
Well, and I don't know that, I mean, I don't think that it's just all people who come in. I think that there are people that were born here that are...
Not nearly as many as...
Yeah, I think it's a combination. There are just people who do not intend to do the best for each and every person around them. And so you are your own first responder. We'll be back right after this.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Range Master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie. I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so, it is not, there's that statement that says that something about they're out to get you and really they are. You can't, how does that go?
You're not paranoid if they really are out to get you.
Okay, yeah, so you're not paranoid if they really are out to get you. That was the statement. That was, in my head, it was like half formed. I knew it came out there. So, New Jersey is, as they say, a civil rights wasteland, and there is an amazing gal that is part of CNJFO and the DC Project that was involved in giving testimony in December in opposition of gun control measures that New Jersey had. They're not gun control, they're gun restriction measures, but gun control measures. And Teresa Einacker was the only female that was actually pro-gun that was testifying in this spate of people. And so she proceeds to give her testimony. She proceeds to she's amazing. She's a lawyer. She's licensed to actually work at the Supreme Court level. So she's good at what she does. 8 minutes into this whole thing where they're recording person after person after person, Teresa steps up to the mic, and for 2.5 minutes, the mic is silent. So whoever is recording this has a technical problem, and the technical problem is only with Teresa. So the problem with that, though the legislators got to hear what she had to say, the archives and the opinions and the things that all of us use to do research as to what happened, how did it happen, who said what did they hear, what did they consider when they passed a law. So it's part of public record. It's part of the Sunshine Law. It's in there, and it's not there.
So it makes it easier for them to ignore what she had to say.
Bingo. So,
it's a lot like where they don't teach you to read cursive writing anymore, so that you can't read what the Constitution says.
You just get to read what we tell you the Constitution says. I like the.
Did you ever see on the TV where the one that does the hand signs for the deaf people?
Okay.
And the guy's saying something, and the guy's doing something completely different, and
right.
It was not
and
at all about the program that was.
Well, they've caught a couple of them where they were not capable of the job, yet they were hired for the job. I think is where that is, because that is a tough thing to do, because most of the time, if you're working as an interpreter in sign, they talk and then you get to sign, and then they talk and you get to sign, and you get there's pause and catch up. When you're signing for a speech or that, there's no pause. You've got to be good. You have got to be good at that.
And I'm sure it takes you longer to sign it than it does for them to say it. So pretty soon you're 2 or 3 sentences behind, so trying to remember what
they said to get it exactly. And so now all of a sudden you're speeding up and paraphrasing. But let me
go back to your thing there.
Let me finish the point I'm making. So right now, so John Petrolino, our trusty reporter, is on the case, if you will. And no, they haven't given her an opportunity to re-record, if somebody's asking that. And no, but so John has asked for the transcripts, and so they were like, well, there may be a problem, blah, blah, blah. So in the end, they told him that John or Teresa could contact them and get a CD of what was actually said. And I believe that they're going to do that. And then if they were me and I were a lawyer, but I'm not, I would then request that the CD version gets exchanged for the official public record version, so that the official public record is complete. So you're going to hold steady and listen. I mean, it sounds like it's petty, but in actuality, it's manipulating history in advance.
Right, and if they start here, they can do it on everything.
So we have to pay attention. So this is really that thing where, that's messed up, right? whatever that is. And so they were told that for a recording of the testimony, please submit an Open Public Records Act, OPRA, request for a compact disc copy. And if you'd like copies of the written testimony, ask for that also. So you can do this. So if you would like to, if all y'all would like to get involved, feel free. And this article is on, this is in, I think it's in AmmoLand. John Petrolino writes for both Bearing Arms and AmmoLand, but I think this is an AmmoLand article. And so the title is 2A Advocates Disappearing Testimony, Technical Problems or Purposefully Silenced. So if John Petrolino is watching the show, and he could tell me where he published that, because I didn't write that down. I just pulled the article off. He emailed it to me, so there. So it is also, you can go to his website, The Pen Patriot, which is John Petrolino's pen name, if you will, and find it there. But pay attention to that type of thing. I mean, he starts the article where the voices of lovers of liberty often go unheard. And that resonated with me, absolutely resonated with me. So
that could happen anyway. I mean, if you're at the school,
right?
If they only listen to one side of the argument and they don't record what the
other guy says is, so I can't hear you, right? Isn't that what we did when we were 6? I can't hear you. Your mouth's moving, but I hear nothing. Right? That's it. So, but pay attention so that this is, let's just hope it's a technical problem, but pay attention to this and make sure that it is not something that's happening in your community. I mean, think about Mark Keith Robinson. Mark Keith Robinson went from being a guy who worked at a warehouse at a steel case furniture factory and with a big booming voice and a very solid opinion, and he was talking about guns. He didn't own a gun, and he was talking about guns, to he went, within 4 years, he is the lieutenant governor of his state, because
he makes sense when he talks. That's
right.
Why. But that's the thing, is some of that with this where they take one piece out or they silence somebody, it makes it so much easier for their side to say, well, this is the information we have.
This is the information we got. So somebody's messaged me and said that it was in Bearing Arms. So bearingarms.com is where you're going to find this article by John Petrolino. And take a look at it, and if you want a copy of the CD,
it kind of goes back to that story you were talking about earlier about the teachers union versus the teachers themselves.
Right.
You see that all the time with like the police unions versus the actual police on the street opinion also. So a guy who punches in and sits at a desk all day somewhere, divorced from the crime and that of either the public school or the street, is got a completely different opinion of what is necessary compared to the guy who's out there getting his head beat in every day.
Right, walking into, running into fires, running into emergencies, being that first guy, as opposed to the buck stops here kind of guy, but he's got an opinion and he's got $1,000 suit. So yeah, I just don't let them rewrite history. That is what I get out of the story.
If they go back through, how many other things have they done this to that were not that somebody didn't bother to catch because they didn't want to listen to the transcripts or listen to what was going on?
Well, I don't know, but John listened to 3.5 nauseating hours of anti-gun people in New Jersey telling you how bad guns are to make sure that this was a singularly a Teresa Einacker issue and not...
You gotta give kudos to guys like that who are willing to do that, or the Second Amendment Foundation, where they got people that are listening to every guy speak his piece, even though it doesn't make good common sense, but yet it's possibly going to be.
I mean, it was like the NRA does a search for everything that is gun related and sends out articles so that you get an idea of what's being said everywhere and what's not, right? And so you get a little more of a idea, so that they're using their resources to search this stuff out. There's also people whose job is to read every piece of legislation, because there's so much stuff that they have wedged into. You know, there's a bill about, the duck-billed platypus, and then the next thing you know, they shove something else in there that has nothing to do with that.
Right, so they're going to help out the platypus, but somebody's getting a new $5 billion bridge.
Right. Exactly. Not to get anywhere near the platypus, right? It's not like to keep them away from the platypus or get them near the platypus. It just has to do with, I'm not signing this if I don't get a bridge. Whatever the bridge is. Just saying. Yeah. That. And so there are people whose job it is to read every... I'm just grateful it's not my job. I am there. So John Petrolino says that indeed he listened to all 3.5 hours, and Teresa Einacker was the only one not recorded. in 3.5 hours.
But,
Yet when
I was wondering in other situations, though, I mean, maybe not the gun thing, maybe it was about the platypus in New Jersey that
different pieces of legislation. So are they modifying history? The other interesting part was when they had the question and answer portion where they're asking her questions, she was recorded in those because they couldn't cut out the legislators. So not that I've got a conspiracy theorist, but maybe you're rubbing off on me. So we'll be back right after these messages for the last segment of Eye on the Target Radio with Rob and Amanda.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefacul and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, so we're back, and we want to talk a little bit about an article that our friend Rob Morris wrote, and it is about the fact that there are a bunch of us, a bunch of Americans, truly a bunch, that will not allow gun control in and will push back and fight back against that. And so he is then perceiving that the next step would be that they will go after taxing it.
Well, they already, one of the guys has put in a thing, he wants 1,000% tax on the AR.
Okay, so 1,000% tax. So
not on everything, just on the AR.
On the things they find offensive. So it'll be it'll be an AR, then it'll be like fudge ripple ice cream because it makes you fat.
Right. Well, if you pay $500 for the gun and then you got to pay the $5,000 tax that goes with it, basically it takes you back to the Civil War days of when they taxed the guns to keep the blacks from being able to have them after the war.
Right. So because they were free men, but they were not. They were broke because they'd just been freed. Right. Then they'd had to all of that, and so
they didn't have any money.
There's not a lot of liquid cash available.
Right. So they had passed some laws to keep them from voting, keep them from buying guns, stuff like this. Actually, in the 60s, we went through this again. Mm-hmm. Remember that some of the Saturday Night Special laws back in the day? They had a law where the gun had to be...
it couldn't be a $25 special.
If they dropped the gun from a certain height, it'd go off. That made it a Saturday Night Special. If they smashed the gun, it was a Saturday Night Special. If it melted at a certain temperature, if certain kind of ammo blew it up, and then they got to where it was if it was cheap, $25, $30, then all of a sudden it was a Saturday Night Special. So they the gun companies just raised their price to whatever that limit was, $68, and then they raised the price again to keep ahead of it. But it was it's just so that if you're rich, you can afford whatever. If you're poor, then now you
can't afford that. Right.
So do I eat or do I buy a gun? Or do I live indoors or do I buy a gun?
Right. And so that's the direction that they're going. I mean, and so we've been in this thing where is it a penalty? Is it a tax? Is it what is it, and how is that happening? And which portion of the country allows that part to happen, and how do you fight back against that?
Remember they were going to put a tax on each bullet or something? Remember that was another thing that was going to be a huge tax on each bullet so that you would only buy the 8 bullets.
Yeah, because they wanted you to buy them as individuals. So the packaging
that's the thing too, you could see these guys, they come on and they say, oh, I'm Second Amendment, blah, blah, blah. But then
they're Second Amendment butter.
Right, but then they want to limit you to 5 bullets. It's like, apparently they've never gone out and shot anything. They've never been to the range or anything to see what it takes to go for a day of shooting
and to be proficient. And because the thing is that you would want people who have the skills to have skills, as opposed to everybody just willy-nilly not.
Right. If you've never fired your gun because it costs too much for bullets, then you're going to go hunting.
That would be like getting your driver's license, never driving until there's an absolute emergency, and you got to get somebody and take them to the hospital. Right?
Or you're going on vacation, whichever. It's like I'll learn on the way to California.
Learn it on the way.
I've seen people like that though on the freeway. They're learning on.
They're learning on the way. Well, okay. I'm gonna say, yeah.
But I mean that's the thing is they tend to hold the poor down with their pocketbook, and it's a real easy thing to do because they don't really have extra money, so they by fighting them on their minimum wage, fighting them on their taxes on their gun and on the gasoline and all this stuff, they can control you however
because they can just keep raising taxes, making it for the public good, whatever that public good is, and take the money and then give $50 gazillion to someplace.
You'll see public good by the end of the year when they see what $10 diesel fuel does for their grocery store.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's I mean, we saw stuff like this in the 70s, the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. It wasn't even this
bad. I mean, I can remember
it creeped up. It didn't go like this.
I can remember the truckers shutting down and just they just left their trucks wherever they were at on the road.
They're like, I can't lease this from somebody because I can't pay my fuel bill and eat. And why am I away from home if I'm losing ground?
I was listening in on a conversation the other day with a guy who does door-to-door food delivery trucks, and he was saying that he uses about $700 in fuel a day in his truck. So that's not including tires and insurance and everything.
Now, see, that just seems...
Well, that's 120 gallons of fuel. So if your truck gets 6 miles to the gallon, how far do you go? And then two, his truck has to be refrigerated, so that runs off of another motor. So he's got two motors that are running in the same day.
Okay, so maybe
that, I think, is how they say.
Right, maybe, because I was just going to say our gasoline drive to Texas and back was $700.
If you buy 120 gallons of diesel and you get 6 miles to the gallon, you're gonna go about 80 miles on that tank of gas. That's without idling or anything. You're just go there quick.
Wait, how many gallons of gas?
If you buy, let's see.
600. It's 600 miles. That's why I think that was a week's worth of gas or diesel.
He said it was. He went $700, which is if you paying $5 a gallon now.
Okay.
That's about 120 gallons of gas.
Okay, so and 6 miles. It's 600 miles.
Right. So
okay. Plus the 20. Right. So I'm just going to the hundreds.
So how far can you drive around from? I mean, he's got to go to the warehouse, get his stuff.
No. But in a day, that's impossible. It's
and then like I said,
maybe it's 2 trucks.
I don't know how much.
And you were overhearing, but it really is a bad thing. It's just
I know I drove a truck for a while, and fuel was cheap at that time, but it's still that truck was a very thirsty beast.
It was a very thirsty beast. I could get it. No, and I mean, and so, but everything is going to. Everything's going to shift. Everything's going to move. Everything's going to get more expensive. And some things are going to be impossible to find. We found that we still can't get primers. So reloading, you still can't get primers. There's a lead shortage. There's a brass shortage. There's the
Department
condiments.
of Defense just announced that they can't get antimony, which is used in the lead manufacturing of bullets, because the Chinese own all the antimony mines.
Well, we've stopped mining lead too, so it's going to be in both places. So imagine that. We've allowed for the national. The safety of the national safety, the national good, there is so much stuff that we do not manufacture in the United States because we've said that's not a good idea.
Back in the 70s where eating lead paint wasn't a good idea.
Okay. Yet, I get that. So don't eat it, but you still,
but that's the thing. But they've expanded that to everything to where you can't buy a car battery, you can't buy bullets, you can't buy anything that was made out of lead back in the day. But yet, too, back in the old days, they made water pipes out of lead, and it wasn't like everybody was affected with it.
I got nothing. I was reading the statement that our video producer gave us that says that it costs about $1 per mile just in fuel to move a big truck. So that's where that is right now in current prices. That is going to make it very difficult. I was listening to somebody else, and they're saying, I can't get saltine crackers. So it's going to be amazing the things that you're going to miss. It's kind of like in this kind of world, the thing I miss the most is my mind. But other than that, the things you're going to miss.
Crackers are going to be right on that list.
They're not on my list. They're not. I was like, okay, I'll just move right on to some other kind. So, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.org.